After half of Europe's flights were grounded today, a warning that the disruption is likely to spread. The cloud of ash from the Icelandic volcano is now drifting further across Europe, forcing more airport closures.
And on the late look north, stranded abroad, the Grimsby youngsters helped home by a lottery winner. And how poor roads and bridge tolls are hitting businesses across East Yorkshire and Lincolnshire.
Good evening. The huge cloud of volcanic ash spreading from Iceland forced down half of all Europe's flights today. Hundreds of thousands of passengers are stranded across the world, and the crisis is costing airlines an estimated £130 million a day. As the cloud drifts south and east, most flying restrictions were lifted this evening for Scotland and Northern Ireland, but they remain in force for the rest of the UK, much of Europe, and more countries are likely to be affected in the coming days. Our Europe editor Gavin Hewitt is in Paris tonight. Gavin.
Well, Fiona, earlier today there had been the hope and expectation that by this evening this crisis would be easing, but it doesn't look that way. Take Lufthansa, for instance, the German carrier. They've said they will cancel all their flights at least until midday tomorrow. This airport where I'm standing, Charles de Gaulle, one of the busiest in Europe, that too will be closed at least until midday tomorrow. And during the day there have been further restrictions on the use of airspace. The empty skies of northern Europe, thousands of planes grounded, engines covered against ash, arrival halls deserted. There has never been a shutdown like this, stretching from France through Scandinavia, Germany to the edge of Russia. And large parts of Europe tomorrow will once again be a no-fly zone. At Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris, there were long lines for flights to London, but all they got was frustration.
We can't get a flight guaranteed till Monday, and I don't even know if that'd fly, so we've just got to wait and see.
This was Frankfurt Airport with many of the stranded given beds. Even at Madrid Airport, south of the volcanic cloud, there was disruption. In Brussels, the crowds tried to ease the pain of waiting. Also there, a family from Kent. Kerry Stoddart says they were returning from a holiday of a lifetime.
We've spent a year saving for it, so we haven't budgeted for what so far has racked up to be nearly £2,500 for us to try and arrange to get home, and obviously sort of put ourselves up in hotels and everything else. We haven't got any money left.
The list of countries that have been affected in Northern Europe continues to grow. Hungary and Switzerland are two of the latest to announce a restriction to their airspace, as the ash cloud drifts in a great swathe south and east. Over 50% of European flights were cancelled today, and the cost to airlines is being estimated at around £130 million a day. The European Air Traffic Agency says the situation deteriorated today, and they don't see any early improvement.
Given the fact that this volcanic ash cloud has been quite stable, moving fairly slowly since it started 48 hours ago, it is reasonable to assume that there will be some significant disruption of European air traffic tomorrow.
Many in Paris turned to the trains to get them to their destinations. There were long lines at the Gare du Nord, and signs indicated that the Eurostar service to London was fully booked until Monday.
Hoping to get a ticket today, or?
Hoping so. It resembles Dunkirk, doesn't it, 70 years ago.
And what are you being told at the moment?
We were told to come up here, and there's nothing until
possibly Sunday. We're trying to get a ticket for Sunday.
Definitely not today, definitely not tomorrow, and there could be something for Sunday.
So tens of thousands of passengers wait and watch as the volcanic cloud continues to spread across mainland Europe. The sense that this crisis may not be over soon is pushing people to consider desperate options. We met a woman here who needed to get from Paris to Amsterdam, and she was considering a taxi fare of £3,000. And the reason is because in this city there is not a car to be hired. And also tonight we heard of one Scandinavian airline that says if this crisis is not resolved by the beginning of next week, they'll have to consider laying off people. Fiona.
Gavin Hewitt in Paris, thank you. Well, here the National Air Traffic Service has suspended flights in and out of England and Wales until at least 1 o'clock tomorrow. Restrictions on airspace over Scotland and Northern Ireland have been lifted, but Ryanair has announced it's cancelling all flights between the UK and Northern Europe until Monday lunchtime. British Airways is grounding its flights in and out of London tomorrow. Here's our transport correspondent Richard Scott.
This is a view that not many pilots are seeing at the moment. Gatwick's runway from the air. For the second day running, skies are clear and planes unused. And that means hundreds of thousands more passengers are affected.
52 hours of travel, so it's been good.
From
Borneo. So,
yeah. So yeah, but we're here and we're quite happy to be home.
It's a volcano.
Yeah.
You can't get mad at anyone, can you? It's not snow on the runway or anything like that, so you just got to go, wow.
The latest is that most UK airspace will be shut until at least 1 p.m. tomorrow. Ryanair thinks the problems will last for longer than that and has cancelled all flights to and from the UK until 1 p.m. on Monday. Restrictions, though, have been lifted in Scotland and Northern Ireland. Manchester and Liverpool airports may also have a limited service tomorrow morning.
Do you have any bags at all to check in? No, thank you.
In Cornwall, there's been a normal service from Newquay to the Isles of Scilly, partly because the airport isn't in controlled airspace and partly because the planes fly very low, only around 1,500 feet. Contrast that with the big jet planes, which fly around 30,000 feet. With the cloud generally from 20,000 feet upwards, these two don't really mix. So if one company can fly under any ash that's present, why can't others?
Jet engines are designed to operate at high altitude for maximum efficiency. If planes were even to consider to try to fly at a low altitude, the fuel burn would be so high they wouldn't even be able to make the long distance journeys, for example, to the States.
There'd also be a huge problem in urban areas with the noise and pollution caused by huge aircraft flying at low altitude. Plus, the airspace would be much more congested, and that could lead to a much higher risk of collision. As for the alternatives, train and coach companies are laying on extra services. Eurostar says by Sunday it'll have carried an extra 50,000 people, but that passengers must book in advance. And P&O has run out of space for foot passengers on its Dover to Calais ferries until Monday. Richard Scott, BBC News.
A group of British scientists in a specially equipped research plane has flown up to the ash cloud to gather samples and assess the risks to passenger planes. They've warned that conditions are very dangerous for commercial aircraft. Here's our science correspondent, David Shookman.
The latest footage from the skies above Iceland, and it's bad news. The plume is still rising. Even now, the eruption is powerful enough to force a new stream of ash high into the air, and the winds keep pushing it towards Europe. Satellite pictures track the clouds. There are breaks and gaps in the plume. What's hard to calculate is exactly how dangerous it is, but tonight we got the first worrying answer. A British research plane has been investigating. Powered by a propeller, it's not as vulnerable as a jet, and it's fitted with special instruments to detect particles in the atmosphere, one of the few aircraft operating. The researchers on board monitored the air outside. In the distance on the horizon, the blurred line marks the plume. The standard aircraft radar systems failed to detect it, but the scientific instruments revealed a hazardous mix.
What we've found is a lot of muck up there. Below 10,000 feet, which is where we've been operating today, we've found 3 distinct layers of volcanic residue. Speaking as an aeronautical engineer, I wouldn't want to be putting a big aeroplane up there at the moment. There's a lot of fairly nasty stuff there that certainly we were running away from, knowing what we could.
The key thing now is what happens in Iceland, and all day the volcano has kept on erupting. The latest research reveals how the molten rock is bursting through a layer of ice that's at least 100 meters thick, and it's coming through in 5 different places. This is a process that's generating huge amounts of ash. Now, this microscopic image is one of the first samples. The particles are dangerous to aircraft, but not said to be hazardous to people. The ash was gathered from the Shetland Islands, a thin layer found on cars.
I woke up this morning and my car is covered in this fine grey talcum-like powder, which, as you can see, is actually really black and grey.
Health experts say that for most people the risks are very low. The biggest problem is the plume's impact on flights and the risk that this could drag on.